Okay, so this is just arrived from Banggood. It's the Iflight 75 HD Cinebee micro size whoop. And the first few things I'm going to do is show you how to do a few improvements. They don't take long. So first off, these covers for the antennas for the receiver, they need to be hot glued. So the pictures will show the positions of that. And the VTX antenna, the sleeve on that, you might want to put a bit of hot glue there. I know a few people have said put hot glue on the actual micro UFL connector, but what I noticed was even at 25 milliwatts, just melting the glue there, so not really any point. The other thing is jello. So jello with this, it's supposed to be jello free. You've got the ND filter, which is like a tinted glass to help with the roll and shutter problems CMOS cameras have. But as I watched one guy say, and it makes sense, these TPU mounts here, make sure they're not touching the actual prop guards, because the vibrations for the motors are going to go through the prop guards, through those brackets to the camera and shake it. So this will be another picture I'm showing, just to make sure you've got a gap there, slight gap, but you don't want to be touching the top plate. So I've just got it just right here. The other tweak or add-on is to put a cable tie round your battery connector so it doesn't pull on the ESC solder pads. This is something you should do on all these quads really. So on the back standoff post, I've just put a tie wrap, and I'll put a picture up of that now also. So these are the mods I would say do on this straight away. This is the OSD controller board for the Cadex Turtle version 2 camera, so you can change all your settings, so that's pretty good. You get spare screws here. So these ones, these silver Phillips ones, are for the prop protectors, and these ones are for the carbon frame or the motors, I believe. You do get a set of these HQ props, but they're pretty weak, so I would suggest keeping the Gemfans on there. The tri-blade, the much stronger prop, if you do hit anything they're going to survive it, and those ones probably won't. You get some stickers. Okay, so the quadcopter itself, let's talk about it. So it lists it on some sites as 2 to 4S, and that's not entirely true. It can't take a 4S because of the motors. They'll only take up to a 3S. The stack itself, the ESC and flight controller, can handle 4S. It would just be a case of upgrading these motors, but I would imagine 3S is plenty good enough for this. So you have 10,000 kV motors here, 1103s, they're branded B motor. So yeah, it's going to be able to film some decent footage for you without getting the breakup of your FPV DVR, which you just normally have. So they call them the split camera. So it serves two purposes. So it transmits to 5.8 gigahertz to your goggles or screen, but you also get the added bonus of being able to record to this board straight to the card, so no breakup like your normal DVR does have. So that's great. The card, it takes 64 gigabyte, maybe 128 gigabyte it could take. You've got a white clip there, tab, to keep the card in, which is good, because a lot of them, if you hit the ground, they don't have that, they just pop out. One thing you will need is a longer strap. This is one of my own. Iflight, if you do see this video, if you happen to stumble across it, it does need a longer strap. The one you supply is okay for a 2S. When you go to a 3S, it barely reaches round, if at all, from what I've seen. But I love the design of this. This is why I chose it. So you've got your mix of carbon frame plus your plastic prop protectors. The camera position means you don't get any of the props or prop protectors in view, so that's great. It has an ND filter, which is tinted glass on that to help with the roll and shutter issue. The roll and shutter issue, I should say, CMOS cameras do have. Obviously using these tri-blades at the moment because they're the stronger blades out of the two sets. Although the quad blade ones will give you more lift. So yeah, I guess if you do want to use them and you're not going to be bashing into things, they're probably okay. So the top one is the VTX. So this transmits up to 200 milliwatts, which is pretty decent for a micro. A lot of them, you know, are stuck on 25. So this can do 0 milliwatts, which is pit mode for your sticks and your goggles or screen. You can change that. It says tramp audio, I believe. So you've got 0 milliwatts, which is off, 25 milliwatts, 100 milliwatts, and 200 milliwatts, which is going to give you a decent range if you pair it with something like the XM Plus. The XM Plus full range should be good for about 1,000 meters. I've never tested it. You will need to get your own battery. This one's a 450 milliamp 2S, only 35C, but it's a good profile for this quad. It's not too big for the frame, so I've stuck with those for now. I've also got a 3S, but it's a little bit more bulky, and like I said, you will need a longer strap for the 3S. So that's where we're at with this, and the next videos will be me going to different locations trying to get some cinematic footage. I'm going to try it with Acro, although I believe, looking at what the reviews I've seen, you know, it's for slow flying cinematic footage, and that's what it's aimed at really. It's so light that these new laws which come in October, you know, this might as well be invisible. It's going to be so far under their radar. So great for if you're stuck flying at parks, you know, around busy areas, and if you're chasing things or you want some subject footage, it's no threat. You know, people are not going to run for cover when they see this, you know. So yeah, that's why I think these are going to really take off, and the cinematic part of it is just an extra bonus really. You know, FPV DVR is fine, but you know, you're going to get breakup and it's not going to be HD quality like this one. So yeah, let's see what it can do.
Breathe in the air, the light that surrounds me. If we hold ourselves together, we'll go far. Created a space, in my head it was empty.
My heart rages around like an ocean in my head, because there are so many things that I left unsaid. I can almost it's not reality. If you are echoing around inside these parallel dimensions all alone, now I'll find you in my dreams. My heart rages around like an ocean in my head. I can almost feel you walking in the distance, but I know that it's not reality. If you are echoing around inside these parallel dimensions all alone, now I'll find you in my dreams. I'll find you in my
So I think after about 20 flights, this thing has done really well. No issues. I would say take it straight off the 25 milliwatts and go to 100. The range wasn't that good on 25 milliwatts. People that are going to buy this are anyone really, beginners, intermediate, expert. It's just a case of this is going to get into spaces and gaps what the bigger quads can't. There's no buzzer on this, one thing to note, but the D-Shot beacon, which you can do research on if you're new, is plenty good enough, so you can set a timer on that. So if I plug it in, you'll hear it. So you will need that beacon is now sound, and you can adjust the level of it. If you lose this in long grass, you will need to use that beacon. It's just one thing I would recommend. And best experience, definitely 3S with these Gemfans and the HQ. The HQ gave little to no jello, as you'll see, but I was flying it in angle mode, probably didn't help it much, other than the Acro flights. So I'm flying it in Acro, just found that you need more control over it in Acro. If you want to get level flying, then angle mode is the way to go with not much up tilt. Flying Acro, you will need to tilt it up a bit more. I didn't do beta flight setup because you've got decent videos out there already. You've got Drone Camps RC, there's Justin Davis, and Andy normally gives you a lot in the way of setup and PIDs and stuff. I haven't changed the PIDs on this. It's not the cheapest of quads, but I mean, it's not a cheap camera. The build is good. Probably the best build out at the moment for one of these cine groups in the design and layout, in my opinion. The rest of them are quite flimsy looking. They haven't got the carbon frames. So this is why I chose this one to review. The crash, it did take a bit of a beating. Obviously the propeller was the first thing to go. These are very weak, these HQ props. Saying that, there was virtually no jello with these props. My thinking behind that is because you've got more thrust, so less throttle, less vibration to the actual frame. What made it worse is I didn't disarm quick enough, so it tumbled and obviously did crack two of these arms, these support arms at the motor end. I'll put a picture up now of that. Easily fixed, just a drop of super glue. But getting back to the beginning where I showed you how to do the improvements and checks, make sure these wires are not touching the bell housing. You don't want the wires to be cut through and shorted out. You're going to cause a desync or burn out the ESC. There's something to check with any of these quads really. The bigger quads even, you can get the same issue. The camera is excellent. The 1080p 60 frames per second. I tested that out, raw footage. I took the card out, put it into a USB stick and plugged it into a 50-inch LCD TV, and the quality, yes, bang on. A lot of detail, great colours, and the edited, uploaded video doesn't do it justice, you know. You've got to actually see it yourself really. So this can do 720p at 60 frames per second. Yeah, so I'm impressed with this quad. I'm still not keen on the idea of how to get the card in and out. That's pretty fiddly. It would have been better if you could plug in a cable and retrieve the footage. I guess something that they might do in the future on the actual board, allow you to do that. But yeah, this is going to be a great tool for anyone who flies at parks. Like I said before, if you're stuck to flying at parks and around busy areas, no one's going to scream and run for cover if you see this coming at you. It's not going to do any damage. So filming up close to things, flying around things, as you'll see in my video, I did try and show what you could use it for. And the cinematic part, you can, you know, 60 frames per second, you can slow the footage right down so it looks smoother. And I did some reverse footage. That was the handstand, the metal statue. So the build of this quad is very good. You know, I love the TPU mount here, the way you can put in your receiver slots in the middle, your antennas here, the VTX comes through it. Really love that. Okay, so it's not GoPro footage, but you know, for a GoPro Session 5 you're going to pay more than this whole quad. And for me, this footage is more than usable. It just takes a calm day really before you can get this up in the air and get some decent footage. I'm going to be putting the Gemfans back on. I've got a lot more things I want to do with the quad. So stay tuned and make sure you subscribe to the channel. You will need your own batteries. I flew 3 different batteries. So this is a 2S 450 milliamp 35C. In my opinion, it doesn't work too well with the Gemfans. The punch is not there, you know. So even with the GMB 2S, which is the highest C rating, it's 80 to 160 C. The right way around. It still didn't have that much punch. Iflight are turning out some great products. As you'll see if you look at other products they're developing and putting out there, the electronics are good. This Cadax V2, excellent quality video. You know, it's more than usable in any situation. And okay, it's not 4K, but 4K takes longer to edit and upload. And okay, for short clips, I guess 4K is nice. But for longer clips, most people can't even watch it. You know, you're going to get buffering. Even at 1080p 60 frames per second, you can see buffering sometimes. If I was being critical about it, I would have said carbon arms, put the motors onto carbon arms and cut out even more vibration instead of having them mounted to these plastic prop protectors, these ducks. But I guess for repair purposes, instead of replacing the frame, you could, you know, like if I had totally destroyed that prop protector, I could have just got another one, and it's just a case of 6 screws. So you've got 3 Phillips screws here and the 3 motor screws, and you just, you know, put the other prop protector on, so it wouldn't take long to fix it. Hopefully you watched the beginning of the video. If you didn't, make sure you watch it, because there are certain improvements you need to do with this thing, you know, to give you the best experience. So make sure you watch the beginning of the video. I'll put links in the description and comments below for where this came from, which is Banggood. I'd like to thank Banggood for letting me choose this for review, and my niece Maisie for doing the scooter scene. I still want to do a lot more. I've got a lot more places I want to go. I want to fly over the water, so that'll be interesting. The docks, get some footage of the boats. So that's where we're at so far. You will need to get your own transmitter, obviously batteries, and if you can fly, obviously line of sight. But with the goggles, it's a lot better experience, especially if you're filming. If this video has been a help to you, the checks, the improvements, you know, something you can use on the other quads, then give me a like, comment below. And if you're thinking about getting one of these, if you use the link in the description, it helps my channel, helps me to get these to review and, you know, sort out problems on them along with you. And yeah, it all helps.